Welcome to the Cross the Line podcast. My name is Carlos Smith, and today I have two very special guests with me. Typically, we do our interviews face to face, but this one we have two special guests with us. They're in two different locations, but it's a pleasure to have these two brothers on. Right now, I have the founders of VoltCell Batteries, Mr. Marcus and Markee Baskerville. Fellas, how you doing?
Pretty good, brother. How you doing?
Man, I can't complain at all.
Thank you for having us, brother Carlos.
Thank y'all for joining me, man. I know we had a lot going on, conflicting schedules and everything. And then I was just in Atlanta yesterday shooting another interview, but I was definitely making sure like I could get back to you guys in a proper manner of time. That way we could set this interview up. Wish we could have done it face to face, but still, it's just an honor and privilege to have you brothers on just to share your journey.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. So starting out, like I said, something I said yesterday in one of my interviews, we always see like product people have, but we never really get the full story of like their journey. So, we're gonna definitely dive into VoltCell Batteries, but just kind of like for the audience, people listening, kind of just sharing a bit about your backstory. Can you tell us where you guys are originally from? Because I know you guys right now are in two different locations, but where are you originally from?
No, we're from the Dallas, Texas area. We're both in Texas now. We're just at two different locations currently.
Okay. And so growing up, like you say, you guys are born and raised there.
Yes.
Born and raised in Dallas, Texas. And so how would you describe you brothers your background, your childhood growing up in Dallas, Texas?
I mean, I think it was just standard for anybody, just kind of just going through those phases. Our mother raised us to make sure that we had a solid head on our shoulders, make sure that education was first. Well, if you want to go outside and play, just whatever you wanted to go out and do, you had to make sure that the academics was on point before she would let you go do stuff like that. So it was always like, make sure you give everybody respect, make sure you respect yourselves as well. Growing up, we just had a nice childhood. I wouldn't say we had a bad childhood or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Key?
And kind of growing up, what kind of things would you say you two were involved in? Like what did you gravitate towards? The sports, music, what kind of things would each of you say you kind of gravitated towards?
I'll say both of us like kind of dabbled in our own little thing. Like my brother's more artistic. I dabbled in a couple of sports here and there. To be honest, like just we were really just based in academics, so we kind of gravitated towards that. I was more science inclined, and he's more like social studies, history type thing inclined.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked art. So like growing up in elementary, we would make these little comic books and sell them, make a little snack money and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that was our first taste of entrepreneurship, was making little picture books. It got so bad that the teacher told us to stop because we were spending more time working on math than actually doing the academics.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, supply and demand, brother. Like it was out there, and we put it out there, and then like we even knew to make it to be continued, so you can stretch out your snack money, so to speak. So if you give me a quarter Monday, if you want to get the rest of this comic book, you're gonna pay me another quarter on Friday to get the rest of it.
Right. At the time, I remember growing up, I know I would do things like washing cars, cutting my uncle, helping my uncle cut grass, and he had his own lawn care business, but I didn't know at the time what it was. I just knew he just cut grass, and I never used the word entrepreneurship, and I never even really heard it growing up and going through school. I never really heard people use the word entrepreneur. Did you guys at the time, selling comic books and candy and making money like that? Did you understand at the time that that's what the word was, like entrepreneurship was at the time?
At the time you're young. Like, then we also did some other things as we were growing up too. Like when we were like around 10 and 11, we went to this pub, and we would actually cut the grass in the back and then wash and mop the floors on the inside and clean the bathrooms. Then we would walk down to a foreign automobile mechanic, and he let us like clean his tools and mop his floor, and he gave us like $20 a piece. So we didn't know that was entrepreneurial. We just knew that, hey, if you have to go work so you can make money, so you can't, money's just not given to you. You have to work hard for it. So we were instilled in that. So we even get like allowances. We went out and worked every Saturday. We did our thing and came back home, and then we had our money that we collected.
Okay.
Even with the, like, we didn't understand the word entrepreneurship, but even with the comic book thing, we thought we were going to start our own little comic book company, but we didn't know that was the word entrepreneurship. We just were like, okay, we'll be, young Black kids doing like comics that were for everybody, because we didn't see a lot of us in comic books back then. So we were like, we'll do our own thing, but we didn't understand the term, but we knew the concept, we didn't understand it.
Yeah, we're young. You're getting 50 cents for a comic book or whatnot, and you're thinking about an ice cream sandwich. It was like, I got enough for an ice cream sandwich. So
Yeah,
you're not thinking about production costs. Yeah.
Yeah.
No production costs, none of that. You just using paper that you got from school or whatnot, making it, putting it together, and then sending it out.
I was the same exact way, just saving up some money, man. I'm thinking about, getting my own shoes. I remember
Yep.
working, doing little side jobs at the time. I never got my first cell phone until I started doing some of the things on my own, and then I picked up a part-time job. I remember first cell phone I ever had. I don't know if y'all remember. It was like the little black flip phone. People used to call it the egg. It was like the black on the front of it.
From Nokia.
Yeah, that one.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah, so that was
I
like
got one.
that was like the first phone that I ever had. So I saved my money, cutting grass, washing cars, getting a little part-time job. And,
Yep.
I was like, yep, that was the very first time. But at the time, it still never dawned on me that, I was like getting into kind of like entrepreneurship and, kind of doing my own little side hustle, trying to create opportunities. But now getting into the real world and doing things in my own career, my own opportunities. Now, especially over like the past, I would say 5 or 6 years now, you definitely start seeing it a lot more. Now people are trying to invest in themselves and, create their own opportunities, whether it's hair, clothing brands, or just anything in general. People, create more of like their own opportunity.
Correct.
Would you guys say that, because here in South Carolina, I always say, I love home. It's small, close knit. But I feel like at times we're a little bit like slow to catch up on things. Would you say Dallas has always been like an environment where you see like more entrepreneurs thriving in that area?
It just depends on where you go. You're going to see a lot in the terms of entrepreneurship. People open up fast food restaurants, something like that. It's like you'll see a whole lot of that. So that market's like saturated and flooded. I think us as a people, we need to expand beyond that in candles and selling food and stuff like that, or like fashion into other aspects like technology, education, things like that. That we need to actually invest our entrepreneurial spirit into. So because there's markets out there that are just wide open for us, but we kind of are putting ourselves pigeonholed into a certain category. Like, okay, well, I'm going to open up a barbecue shop or a soul food restaurant. Like you can go several spots in Dallas, and then if you're in one spot, you'll find a soul food restaurant. You can go up the road about 5 or 10 minutes and find another one. So it's not hard to find one, but it's hard to find like other things that are of quality that we need to invest in as a people.
Right. Did you guys growing up? Did you see anybody? Did you come from a family of entrepreneurs, or was your mom like a traditional 9 to 5 worker? Like who did you see anybody that was an entrepreneur?
Our mom, she was one. Our stepdad, he actually started something called the Musicians Referral Network, where he was compiling a list of people, and then it was kind of like I say Facebook for musicians, but he ended up selling it because at first we didn't really understand it, and we thought it was like okay, because he was a musician, so like we're like it's a fluke, and he's just doing what he's doing, but he actually sold it. I mean, he should have honestly, he probably should have just kept it.
But at that time, with like just the internet kind of just coming into its own self, it wasn't like a big market for that because people were still using newspapers and going pulling out magazines. So seeing it on the internet, not a lot of older adults fully understood that. So that's why it didn't kind of like catch on as it should. Like if he had probably opened it up around 2005, 2006, that thing probably would have blew up. Yeah, it would have blew up. He tried this in the mid to late 90s, so it didn't catch on as it needed to back then.
And it's crazy, like you said, like just knowing what you know now. If you could just foresee what's gonna happen in the future, but man,
absolutely,
that's beautiful.
But that's to me, that's the thing about entrepreneurship is you got to have this vision of just seeing things that other people are just that they don't understand. Like even when you tell them about it, they might not even believe in it. But it's like you have this goal, you have something in your mind, and think about it and then just bring it to reality. To me, that's so special about entrepreneurship, just having that vision and having that goal. And even though he stepped out, he sold the business just to be able to have that vision early on. and to just to bring something like that to life. Does he talk about that now? It's like looking back on, like, it's something he wish he would have held on, or does he has he moved on to other business endeavors?
He's moved on, so no communication with us about it, but we just kind of saw the process. I mean, me and my brother, we were doing like collecting aluminum cans as kids. We thought that'd be our little business too, like comic books, just doing like little side hustles. And we figured in our mind, like, again, we didn't know it was entrepreneurship. We were just like, it's a business. We'll start our twin business and keep it going and just kind of build it from there. But of course, as we got older, we got regular part-time jobs and whatnot, got full-time jobs, and then as we start to kind of like work in our certain in our respective fields, we were like, we can do this stuff ourselves. Like, why am I making this man money over here or this man money over there when we can make it for ourselves, and we can divide that money up amongst ourselves and help our community as well, because people that we've seen in times past, they would just be like, okay, let's get the money for ourselves, blah blah blah, and not help the community. So we get to learn that, like, trial and error. Trial and error was an iteration of just kind of going through things before we kind of got to the point where we're at right now and just doing stuff for ourselves. But I mean, going back to your question about, do we see a lot of that in Dallas? I mean, it's kind of a yes and no answer. Like, you see it, but you don't see it expand, as my brother said, past certain areas like food or certain commodities that people were thinking, well, I can make money in here. And like you said earlier, Carlos, we have to think outside our limited scope and go past that and see, well, can we do this? Can we do that? I mean, we're seeing it now, but we didn't see it back in the day. And now you're seeing an influx of people trying to think outside the box, which I wish it would have happened sooner, because, our people will be advanced a lot further. We advance a lot
as a
further.
Collective.
Yeah, as a collective.
Yeah, I think, especially for our people, most of the time, especially now, it's almost like growing up, you thought you had to be an athlete or entertainer to be successful. Now, a lot of people now with social media, it's like a social media influencer. And
exactly.
Yeah,
you just have to just have a laptop or a phone that has video capabilities and a good bandwidth and catchy gimmick, or you just pick up another gimmick that people just piggyback on you and give you those views and follows. And it's funny that you say that, because in junior high, when I was playing football, I was working. It's like, I'm making more money working than doing this. My coach is like, well, why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? I'm like, well, I can make money right now. He's like, well, you're not thinking big. But in my head, I'm thinking big. So I just quit the football team back in junior high to work, because we didn't even know we were given that entrepreneurial spirit, because, like, it was integrated in us. We just knew, hey, you have to go out here and work to make money if you want to get the things that you want. And like, our mom taught us how to save money and all that, because, like, you're a young kid, you're thinking about spending every last dime you got. She's like, no, you're gonna get 100% of it, but 50% is going here, and the other 50% you get to keep to spend. And then she showed us how to pay some of the bills in the house, and we didn't see that as like a horrible thing. Oh, I'm helping my mom pay a bill or whatever. It was, to us, it was like, you know what? This is part of life. This is standard. So she instilled those things in us at an early age that helped carry us on now. I think that was beneficial for us back then.
I think that's so important as well, because I think around here, I remember I had my former high school basketball coach, Coach Robinson. He was talking about now they in South Carolina, they get rid of the institute, in Union County, instituting like a financial course for seniors. Before you can graduate, you have to pass this course about financial stuff about dealing with financial
literacy.
Yeah, financial literacy. And like, I know when I graduated back in 2010 from high school, we didn't have that at all. And the only thing that I had was my parents teaching me, to kind of save money. They always stress, having good credit. And I've heard stories about, people in our community where, as kids will have like light bills and different stuff like that in their name, and it's like,
a house phone in their name.
Yeah, like a house, anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. But see, my parents, they never did that to us. They just stressed the importance to us about, saving your money. And I know my dad would always say, when you work for something, you appreciate it more. So he never really just handed us anything. As we got older,
sir.
We had to work for it. Having good credit, because he said, man, credit is going to be everything. Like, depending on where you can stay at, getting a car, all type of stuff. But there were times where they say, good and bad things about credit cards, which you just need to know how to manage a credit card. So
correct.
I definitely understand, like, and at times, in our community, when you talk about money, sometimes people don't really like to have those type of discussions, which is so important, because if you jump out here in the real world not knowing what you're doing, you're already behind the 8 ball. So I loved hearing that you say your mom, taught you guys about, the importance of, having your money and saving it, which is something we need to do more of in our community.
And then to piggyback off of what you just said, with several communities like the Asian community, the Jewish community, and some other communities, their buying power, their dollar stays within their community to grow it. So it stays, whether it's days, weeks, or months before it goes out to the general pop. Our dollar, our black dollar, which is like we're like a little bit over $1 trillion in that, it stays in our community in mere hours and goes out to the population. So we're not growing. We're growing other groups and other populations because they know that our buying power and our dollar are very strong. So they try to entice you with all these things. There's a whole system back in the 50s and 60s set for us just to spend our money. But some other groups and cultures realize, you know what, you keep it in house. And then, like just thinking about China, right off the top of my head, if an American or a foreign entity wants to do business with someone in China or in China, you have to get one of their manufacturing companies or their companies, and you have to be contracted with them so they bring their money in house in China before they even consider talking with you. So, like, if you try to do a business in China, say nope, you got to partner with one of our other groups out here, grow them, and then we'll consider growing you. We need to have that same exact mindset. We've grown every other culture, every other race but our own, and we keep talking about it, but we need to actually put the action behind it.
Absolutely. I 1000% agree with that. I remember one of my former coworkers, he's a Russian guy, and one day I was having a conversation with him, and he was saying something about he was working, but he wanted to, start his side business. But his wife, she was baking cakes on the side. She didn't have a 9 to 5. She was just baking cakes. That was kind of her business. And he says she has it's like he said she just sells to the Russian community on Facebook. And I asked him, I said, what do you mean? He said on Facebook, they had a group with just strictly Russians. And everybody was posting there, and they would just buy from each other. Whatever it was they were selling, it was just a group just for them.
Yep.
And it worked. They supported each other. And he always told me, I said, man, when they came over, he said in their community, they were always taught to, do for themselves. So even on his days off, do yard work, build a deck, anything like that, they would do for themselves. He said we never lived above our means. He said they would have family that would live with each other. They didn't go out and buy the most expensive things.
Correct.
And you talk about people that find stuff with deals, like even at work, they would wait till anything go on sale and then they would buy it. They never lived above their means. And I'm just like, man, how do y'all do it? And he was just breaking it down to me. And I was like, man, our community, and I love our people. I'm always ride for our people. But I'm like, man, it's like our mentality is not the same as theirs, as far as like living within your means or just, supporting your own people. I mean, we do a good job of it, but I think it could be better as far as like, supporting somebody, because I feel like at times, even if we have somebody that's doing some work similar to us, we may not go like we should, even though, because they do what we do in our community. And I'll let you guys piggyback on that. Why do you think that's kind of like going outside of our community to buy things?
I think that's and again, before I even say that, let me just preface that with, I love our people too. I mean,
right.
I'm black as they come. I'm tar black, so I'm black as they come. So I love the black culture. Like I don't want to talk negative about my culture, but I want to tell the truth about it, because we got to live in truth. We can't live in all these facades and these veils that are saying this is how certain things are. I think our culture is trained to make sure we support other cultures so we don't seem as aggressive or trying to take over. So some people get assimilated into doing that, thinking that, you know what, this makes me inclusive with everybody, but it doesn't. All they see is that they're taking your dollar. They know they're taking your dollar, and they enjoy you giving away your dollar, because they know if you keep it in your own culture, in your own community, that community is going to be a very powerful and dangerous entity in itself to contend with. So you have to keep the masses separate. You got to keep them. Okay, I'm gonna put this shoe out for $400 and tell them, well, if you buy that shoe for $400, then you are somehow above your class because you've built it, but you're living in like a ghetto apartment that's $300 a month, and you just bought some $400 shoes. You didn't reinvest in yourself. You invested in another group when you could have, like we all said in this group right now, in this little chat, that we've cut grass, we got cans, we've been here mopped floors and bars. Take some of that money, reinvest it back into yourself to grow your money. Like you said, don't go above your means. Some people want to do that. They want to get the latest car because they see the Joneses doing it and thinking, well, you know what? They got a Lexus. Let me go get a Lexus too. Knowing you can't afford it. So, and they know you can't afford when you come in there too. But they get you in there, get as much money and bleed you as possible, get that car back, sell it to somebody else, but they got all the money from you. And then you're stuck with bad credit because they've bled you dry. You're stuck with trying to get another car, which are going to give you you're going to have to get like a less than great car because of your credit, depending on how you do it. And they know they're going to rip you off and keep you that way. They've been shifting the housing market to fit certain cultures for decades now, and they don't want to include us in that. A majority of us want that American dream, that picket fence in that house, 2.5 kids, and all that kind of stuff. They know that everybody wants that dream because they sold that. That's to me, it's a Caucasian dream. I don't think that's our dream. That's a dream that they sold to all the masses, and that's how it was done. But like as you said earlier, you see that some cultures will take in like some of their sub-level families, like cousins and all that, and they're all living in one house and they're saving and investing in themselves. And then once they're not living above their means, but once they get to where they need to get to, that other person gets the house, and everyone is living the way they need to live because they understood how to work our system while they're here, because they couldn't work it over in some of their other countries because of the economics. But here, land of opportunity, you got it, you use it, and we need to get in that same mindset. Again, like I said, our dollar holds a lot of power. It holds a whole lot of power. It's just, I don't think we know that. We just know that, hey, you know what? I have this dollar that I worked hard for. I'm gonna go get this fancy house, this fancy car, and I'm set. And they when they do all the gerrymandering and redistricting, they're putting you on one side, and they still don't want you over there buying, but you're kind of close to see them, and you're thinking you're living that American dream. That's not the American dream. That's just that to me is a facade.
Do you have like not a Popeyes? Do you have a Church's Chicken in your area?
Yes. Yeah. Well here in Spartanburg it's only one now. One of them was like in across town in like a rough neighborhood, and then we had another one right beside the hospital. That's the only one that we have right now in Spartanburg.
I had a police buddy of mine. He said the joke was, the neighborhood you're in because if they put a Church's Chicken in the neighborhood, then you know it's a rough neighborhood. So they don't put it on the nice side of town. And I never noticed that. And it was like, and I started noticing that certain establishments, they don't put them on certain spots of town. They put them in this area, and then we're happy to go patronize those particular establishments and make them rich, but they're not enriching the community. They're just enriching their pockets because they know we'll spend X amount of dollars in that establishment because it's almost like we're conditioned to. And then, I mean, you go like, it's kind of like in my belief, it's like we can build our own, but we also have to work on the customer service too, because I mean, in this area here, we need to work on customer service in certain spots because a business will open. And I'm not gonna lie, if I go to a business black owned and they'll give me good customer service, I'm not coming back. I'll go to the next one that like Chick-fil-A. They train those people to like psychologically, I know I'm spending more, but because of their customer service, I'll spend an extra $2 or $3. I won't go back to Church's Chicken because the last one I went to, they were cussing at the speaker box, and I kept saying hello, hello. And when I called to complain to somebody, they were like, "Well, what do you want us to do about it?" I said, "Don't worry about it. My money's not valuable to y'all, so I'm paying more at certain places." Or we have a guy here he started Williams Chicken. It's a black-owned chicken company that he used to work for Church's, but he started his own. He has a good following, but in certain spots that I've been to different ones, it's the customer service. And when I go back, I can't say that I would because we need to work on that. We could grow. Black businesses could grow if that is like the main focus. Don't argue with the customer. The customer's always right. If the order's wrong, even if it's the fault of the customer, try to accommodate that customer to work because you want that money to come back. You don't want a one and done. I know I don't. But we're trying to incorporate that into VoltCell where, I mean, I'm reading comments. I'm trying to make sure that any type of constructive criticism that we get, we don't take it to heart. We got thick skin. We take it and we restructure some things based on the constructive criticism that we're getting. We're not going to say, "Oh, this is my dream, not your dream," and then get into like a pissing match with a
We're
potential.
at the end of the day, we're a fledgling beginning company. Any feedback, that's to help us grow so we can help everyone else with us grow and help our people as well. So, like my brother said, if we're taking it to heart personally and getting upset with it, that's not the route to go. Because if someone's trying to say, well, hey, this is like what I think y'all need to do, we need to look at it, make sure it fits and it's aligned to what we're doing, and then we incorporate it. There's nothing wrong with growth. Like, will we make mistakes just starting out? Of course. Any business that you look up, any business has made mistakes and they've corrected them. We own up to our stuff if we make a mistake and we correct it and make sure that the customer is happy. Especially like with our people, we want our people happy and proud that you know what, this is a black-owned business that's doing it right.
Absolutely. And kind of just talking about that as well is it's one thing, like you said, when you go to a black owned establishment and it's not up to par, you don't like it, you go somewhere else. But here's the other thing, at times, even whenever if I go to a black owned business and it's not what I want to be, I never go back on social media and put that business on blast.
Yeah.
And
Tell
I
them
think you have to be so mindful of that because these people are you might just be having a bad day, or they might be having a bad day, or somebody might have called out that business. And it's so many things that we may not even know. So to go put them on blast, then other people see that, that's hurting our own people.
exactly.
So you could just, even if you don't like it, maybe just pull somebody to the side and say, hey, this happened, or get them some pointers or whatever. But when you go back and put them on blast, that's doing even more harm to our own people because we're still trying to survive, and it's already so much stacked up against us, especially being a black-owned business. Then when you go put them on blast, it's like you hurting them even more then, because then other people see that and they might not even want to deal with it. Company.
Exactly. That's exactly true. If we're talking about the uplift piece, about uplifting one another, we actually got to put that in practice and execution. Like, I would prefer to come to you one on one and talk to you as the owner because, like you just said, I can't. But the owner might not be the one even working that line that day. Maybe one of the workers had a bad day, something snapped in them, and it just was a horrible day for everybody all around. Is it the owner's fault? No. I talk with that person or the owner and see like, and that in a way to get somebody fired to be very negative or disruptive. It's to help to make sure that hey, give them a little bit of time, like to kind of get themselves together, or this or this, to where your business is growing, and then you're implementing that, and I'm coming back to you, and it's all smiles and it's good vibes. It's not that person might get me fired, and like you said, or that person went on to Facebook or social media and put this negative stuff up. And I read some comments from other like businesses that people do that to, and they do it to our businesses the most. But and it's us doing it to each other. But
it is.
They won't do that to like another group or whatever. Or they'll say, "Oh, they have some good food here today." But certain restaurants deal in racism, and you're still going to them and talking about them like they're great. And then some people are like, "I'm gonna forget the dude. The dude called me an N word. To me, called me an N word." And just because you put as you're facing on the commercials, great, you're doing some PR. But I'm not going to forget that guy called me the N word, and that's how he perceives me as. Once he said that,
yeah, and me personally, I never really cared for that piece. But see, that's the thing. When establishments like that put out a racial remark, what they love to do is they want to get one of us, kind of stand on the front line and kind of take up for them. But it's
because
like
our black dollar is strong. So if they lose our black dollar, to be honest, they're either going to lose 50% of their profit, or they're going to go out of business.
Absolutely. And that's the value of our dollar, and we need to value that more and understand the power of our dollar. Markee, I want to get back to something else that you said earlier, when you were talking about the church's chicken. And like I said, the one that was closed down was in a rough neighborhood across town, and then the one that's right by the hospital, like right behind it, that area is not that great as well. And it made me think about Malcolm X, the autobiography from Malcolm X, when I read it a few years ago. I need to brush up on it again. But one of the things he was talking about in the book was how everybody saw kind of like the value of our people and the value of our dollar. And he would say, well, you will look at these people like Indians or you see where they put the liquor stores in our communities. They set up shop in our communities, make money, and then they go back and leave out of our communities and take it back to their homes and then set up shop again the next day, make money in our communities, and then they're gone once again. And that's something I was like, man, and this is, Malcolm was just a visionary. And just for him to see how it was back then and see how it is still to this day of how they set up in our, like if you look at where liquor stores are now, they're still in our communities. They make a lot of money. And then once again, the people who run them, they don't look like us.
Not a drop.
Money, and then they're gone again.
And they don't live in those communities either.
No, not at all.
They sell their brand and move on back to their side.
Even look at like those gold stores where they say they'll buy your broken gold and they put them in bad neighborhoods. It's like, I mean, it took me a while to get it, but I get it. It's like per ounce, what is it, like 1,600 to 2,000 per ounce for gold? If I got a broken chain, all I care about is looking good, and I want my chain to look good, and it's broken. I'm not going to keep that broken chain. So I'm thinking I'm getting over on the man that's giving me $200-300 for a broken chain. He's melting it down, made him a good $1,500, $1,600, and they're in certain neighborhoods. Because I can go through, because I work with my daytime job. I do a nonprofit working with youthful offenders in the DFW area. So I'm going to certain neighborhoods and I'm like, wait a minute, why is this gold store saying I'm taking your broken chain? And this is an area that's an impoverished area. So they give them pennies on the dollars and take that money out of that community. And if people don't even realize, we need to figure out, how do we open up a gold smeltering business and we can just sell it ourselves? But nobody's thinking that. They're just thinking about the pennies, while the person in the community is thinking about the dollars.
Absolutely.
And then even piggybacking off that, even with that being said, yeah, and you're thinking in that same mindset, but also you're keeping a percentage of profits to give back to that community and build that community up. So because they're helping you out, you need to help that community out. That's just what it is. Not, okay, well, I'm gonna get all this money and then I'm gonna leave just like they did. No, if we don't build our own communities and selves up, no one else will, and we'll just we'll degrade more and more. So, and then again, like, and who's thinking about that? Again, like back to my previous statement, people are thinking about candles from what I see from the research, doing a lot of candles and doing a lot of food-based businesses. And then some people are now getting into grass cutting, but those two, food and candles, it seems like that's all we're getting in. Oh, and clothes. I'm sorry, in clothes.
Fashion, yeah.
That's it. Like, fashion is oversaturated and flooded. That is flooded. Trust me, we're good on that. We're locked. We're good. We need to start thinking beyond that. We need to start thinking about like investing in real estate or being one of those real estate investors that's helping the community grow and not taking from the community. We got to think about, okay, opening up our own bank systems. Asian communities have their own bank systems. I mean, I don't want to sound racist, but have you seen a lot of Asians go to Chase Bank? No, they have their own banking methods and systems, and they have their own banks. And we don't have any of that. So we're still relying on other cultures and other groups to help us out, and they know that, so they give us higher interest rates. They pigeonhole us again in certain binds that they wouldn't do to other groups or even their own group. And we just need to understand that even more as a people and get beyond that and start investing back into ourselves.
Absolutely. You love what you guys talking about. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back. This is the Cross the Line Podcast. Welcome back to the Cross the Line Podcast. We had to take a quick break, but we are back now. Marcus and Markee, I know you talk about some of the jobs, side jobs you had as you were growing up, but did you guys know exactly what you wanted to be when you were growing up, or was it kind of like you just still trying to figure it out in the process of everything?
I wanted to be a doctor when I was growing up. So like in my head, it was like, you know what, you're going to be a doctor, go to medical school, all that kind of good stuff. So I had that in my head for a while.
I wanted to be a comic book artist or creator. Like, I was looking at a lot of you may not remember Milestone Comics. That was the first Black comic book company that I knew of. The guy who created Ben 10, McDuffie, the Black man. So I was following his exploits, and he started with some of his people. He started a comic book company called Milestone Comics. If you ever get a chance to look up that documentary, it's pretty good. And I thought I was going to work for them. So in my mind, I'm like, well, let me go work for them. But I mean, they got absorbed by DC Comics, like Static Shock. That's one of their comic book characters.
Static Shock growing up.
Yeah. And they were doing a lot of socially conscious stuff. So I was like, that's what I would like. That's what I wanted to do. And then, then I wanted to be a detective.
Okay.
So I wanted to work like homicide cases. But of course, I mean, I'm working with a nonprofit with youth. So it is what it is.
when you said it about Static Shock, kind of made me think. And for me, that he might have been one of the first black superheroes that I could think about with Static Shock growing up. I can't.
I mean,
For me personally.
Yeah, we a little older than you, but we think about Black Panther.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple already growing up. Icon, Duffy made him. So Green Lantern, John Stewart.
I
Yeah.
heard of Green Lantern
So
as well. Yeah,
Luke Cage.
Yeah, Luke Cage, and of course, just recently, like the past 3-4 years, when Black Panther was like that was really
blew
like,
up.
Yeah, that was like the trend, and when I never forget that moment when people, around here when the first one came out, it was like you would see people going to the movie theaters and dashikis and everything.
Yeah, that was nationwide. Like, and you know what? That movie, like when you see it, it's like very powerful and strong.
It was.
So it's like I saw it like 4 times in the movie theater.
Yeah, it
so
was.
I went 3 times by myself, and I took my son to see it once, and that's just how powerful it was to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw it 4 times. I took different kids to go see it. Like I was saying, see if they can do it, you can do it.
And he's Chadwick. He's actually from South Carolina. He's
yeah.
I'm in Spartanburg right now. He's like out towards like Anderson, which is maybe like an hour away from here. But he's actually from South Carolina. But just I think even just talking about representation, I know I'm getting away from my question again, but just talking about representation, I think that's so important for us to see a superhero that looks like us, that type of representation. And that's not just in a movie, but of course Black Panther, in any field. Like when you see, even with TV, when you see somebody that looks like you, that makes you feel like, okay, he did it, so I can do it. And I feel like representation is like a huge part of anything, especially for entrepreneurship.
It's huge. You're right. It's huge. Just think about when they re-imaged the Little Mermaid. Mm-hmm. Certain people got in a tizzy about it.
Some people didn't like it.
Yeah, like I'm a guy, so I'm not gonna go see Little Mermaid. It would never interest me. But and you see like on like videos going viral of all these young black girls seeing the Little Mermaid that looks just like her and being in the lead role. They were super excited and happy. So it's like people got to like everyone needs representation. So to sit there and just be hateful online, oh, she's white. Who said that character was white?
And they didn't understand that representation gives you permission to dream big, to want more, to go after the unattainable, so to speak, to just dream bigger. So you need to see it. I mean, we can talk about it all day. Some people can hear it and go for it, but most people need to see it. They want that, the physicality to it, that you have to see it. You want to be able to touch it, be able to have a reference. And the fact that some people didn't get that, it is beyond me, because it's like they get to see it every day. Because I had one girl when Denzel won his first, I don't know if it was his first Oscar, but when he won his Oscar for Training Day, and I had to check her because she was like, well, what's the big deal about a black guy winning that? Because everybody wins. I said, we need to see that. And I was like, y'all see it every day. Y'all have gotten used to it. To me, that shows me, like, if I want to be an actor,
going back to Bossman, like for Black Panther, Denzel Washington encouraged him when he saw that. So you're breaking it out. Like these little girls, again, going back to Little Mermaid, these little girls watching that, you're probably now igniting a future writer, a future director, a future producer, a future actress. So you're igniting and promoting all these different avenues that they probably never even thought in their head existed for them, because you're used to seeing one demographic as opposed to your own. So now you're opening this wide range and a spectrum of different things that these young ladies could do. And again, representation for us as a people, opening up wide ranges. Because like, just going back to the batteries, like there's no other African American business just trying to do batteries. Like it is. And then I think just to be frank, I think this, even like once this thing gets big and grows, the battery companies already out there, even the ones that are smaller and across the country, they're not going to see us as competition, because it's like, okay, well, you're the only black one, you're not going to be big competition. Like whoop de whoop. Like, no, we are competition. We're showing it can be done. We're actually that
challenger brand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've come to challenge the status quo. And even in my mind anyway, I mean, the majority of battery companies or brands are not giving back to the community. With us being a challenger brand, we are now changing that narrative, and we're saying that if we're doing it and we're doing it at a lower price point, and you guys are charging $20 or how much you're charging, now you got to come back and give to the community because you're raking in all that money and you're not helping people, but you're wanting them to buy your battery. What's in it for them? And we're challenging that mindset in the battery space, and hopefully it'll produce some positive change not only through us but through other organizations. So it's a win-win.
And when we speak about representation and seeing what you brothers are doing with a black owned battery company, is when you talk about that representation, it's just like, even in society, when you go to most businesses of any major corporation, when you go to these establishments, and there's no offense to anybody at all, but just in being honest, when you go to these establishments, most of the people that you see in high authority positions are white. So when you see that all the time, you already assume any business that you go to, that upper authority is going to be white. So they're not used to seeing us in those type of positions. And so it's like, I think a lot of that goes back to them not feeling comfortable with us being in those positions and not doing business with us because we're black. And we had this conversation yesterday, which is one of my other questions. When I was talking to Miss Sheena Parker, she does great business. She does like government contracting, cleaning stadiums, schools in Atlanta, everything. And we were talking about being a black owned business owner, and I noticed what you guys on your About Us page, you let it be known in that first paragraph, we're black owned. And when I was talking to her yesterday, I asked her, are you intentional about letting people know that you're black owned, or do you kind of like shy away from it? She said she lets it be known she's not ashamed of her color at all, but she says at times there are moments where she may not say she's a black owned business owner because the pushback or things.
Yeah.
She can have things lined up, and once they find out she's black, and she gave me an example yesterday of she went to a business, everything was lined up, but when they saw who she was, she had locks in her hair, she had nails, and the first thing the guy said to her was, "Oh, you have long nails." She said about not even maybe 10 minutes after she walked out, she got a phone call. Hey, we just decided we want to go in a different direction. So everything checks out, but once they see who you are, at times people kind of shy away from it. Is that something you guys still embrace? Of course, I see it on the website, but how do you guys feel about letting people know that you are a black owned business?
Well, I'll speak on it a little bit, and I'll let my brother speak on it. I think to a certain degree, it has to be known. And again, I say that because our buying power is out there. So let's say by saying that, we may ruffle some feathers of some other demographics, but our own people should realize, okay, well, you know what? They've made it clear they're a black-owned company. Our buying power is in the trillions, so the support is there. Like we support all these other companies that we know are white-owned, Asian-owned, Hispanic-owned. So these other companies are owned by other races, and like you don't have a problem with that. They shouldn't have a problem with us saying that. Like you can tell by just the name of certain things, like who owns what. So they don't have to directly say it, but they're indirectly saying it. So it's like, well, this is owned by a Hispanic organization. So, but I like their product. So, and it shouldn't. At the end of the day, with these other demographics, it shouldn't matter about color. But again, we're not going to shy away from it. We're not ashamed of it. It's a part of who we are. I mean, let's say we don't even say it. Just like your friend said earlier, you got to go do these meetings. You got to go do these pitch deck conversations. So they're going to see our color and say, you know what, we're going to go in a different direction. If they're inclined to be that way, I'm not saying everybody's like that, but if certain ones are inclined to be that way because of our color, they're going to see it from conception. So if we're saying it initially and you want to do business with us and you're reaching out, you already know we're black owned. So it's just even better that way.
Right.
For me, I'm a little mixed on it. Like it does need to be said, but in certain circles, you want the product to speak for itself. And then when we come to the door, it's like you can't, just because it doesn't matter we're black, the product spoke for itself. It's here, it's doing numbers. You need to give us a platform like you gave the other brands. Because I know some people now, they want to buck against the DEI and all what's going on with the Supreme Court, and they're like, well, I don't want to support that because it should be equal. If it was equal, we wouldn't have to say black owned. It would just be equal.
Thank you.
So there's it's kind of baked into certain systems and structures where it's systemic, where nobody wants to acknowledge it and they don't want to feel bad. But I mean, again, it's not my responsibility or my brother's responsibility to provide that comfort to somebody else. It's like if you feel bad, you feel bad. You need to go get you a therapist or something to figure out why you feel bad about it. But if you know that our numbers speak for itself and we so happen to be black, then give it a shot. Don't just say, well, you're not going to, because I've seen some people on social media saying that, oh, we're a gimmick and this and that. And it's like, no, we're not a gimmick. You didn't say it about the other brand name battery brands. Nobody said it about them, but the fact that we are letting people know, we're letting it be known that we're a black owned battery brand. Some people are saying, well, they're a gimmick and they're not doing anything special. That's their opinion. It's like, of course, you're going to take the bitter with the sweet. So we'll mix it together and make it work. But yeah, I mean, for right now, I can say that honestly, I'm mixed on it. I mean, I'm pretty sure my perceptions and feelings will change as time goes on. But it's like, I'm saying right now, I'm in the middle with it. It has to be known, but also outside of our community, I want our product to stand on its own 2 feet, and I want people to like give it a chance and then let us kick the door open.
And I think that's sad to say is it sucks because it's like when you people who have a black owned business, they already have this made up in their mind. Oh, it's something already wrong with it. It's like the quality of some other establishment is already better. It's like, why do we put out? And it's not just our people, just people in general, just put down black owned business. And I had the conversation with some of my coworkers at work in the past, some of my former coworkers, and I was telling them like, I never use like my skin color as an excuse to why I may not receive an opportunity. But I said, however, I'm not going to act like in certain situations, it doesn't play a part in it either. And they didn't look like me, of course. And you know, they understood what I was saying to a certain degree, and then at certain parts, they're like, man, I didn't have anything either. So I kind of started where you did and look where I am. But it's like, you don't understand. It's unless you're black, you will never really understand the things that we have to go through. And just because you may have, and it's sad to say that sometimes because of your skin color, because they may relate to you more, even if we're more qualified, you may still get ahead just because of your skin color. And it's just, and it sucks to say that, but it's just like, just because, like I said, when you look like them, you can get ahead. And I'm not saying in certain situations, of course, like for me, being an entrepreneur, like I always say, I'm gonna always look out for my people, regardless. Like if I have an opportunity to where I can help some of my own people, look out, because any other race, they do it and it's not an issue. So why should it be an issue if we do something like that?
Yeah, right. Correct.
It's like if you go into a meeting, of course, if you don't look like somebody, they're looking for certain ways to kind of make it not work, where maybe I mispronounce a word, or there's a certain sentence structure that they're used to that I say it a certain way, where we have to be on pins and needles to make sure that we're providing like the information as perfect as possible, because you make one little mistake, like, oh, well, they'll figure a way to like segue away from it and be like, well, if you made a mistake on that, you'll make a mistake on this, and that. Like they second guess you. And
that's why they have this thing called code switching. Like that terminology and that type of dynamic wouldn't be out there if it wasn't being prevalent, because it, like he just said, it happens.
Mm-hmm. And I'm a sports fan, so, and I cover the Hornets, and I work with South Carolina State and HBCU we have here, and just a prime example, like when I was talking to my coworkers, I said, just look at the NFL. They have the Institute of Rooney Rule saying that you have to interview at least one or two minority candidates before you can hire a new coach. If race wasn't an issue, why would you have to institute something like that?
Exactly.
That just lets you know that it's an issue, then it's a part of the problem in society. It's just like you're just not used to having people like our people in those open positions. So that's why you have to institute those different type of things. Like
I want you guys to think about when Barack Obama first became president, how negative they talked about that man like he wasn't intelligent. They talked about his experience of just being a part of Congress and not being enough foreign relations experience. And he knocked all that out the park. The man's intelligent, And then after his 2 terms are up, we get Trump, and he has what? He has TV experience, and then a certain dynamic. They praise him all day long,
Couldn't do no
and
wrong. He couldn't do
yeah,
no
The
wrong.
mistakes he
and
made.
all he did was wrong. And it was funny because a couple of political news stations they got on Obama because one time he wore a tan suit, and they said never in the history has a president wore a tan suit in the White House. But then looking through the archives, Reagan wore a tan suit, so it has happened before. You just overlooked it until a black man did it, and then he didn't wear a tie a couple of times, and then all of a sudden, oh, he's not wearing a tie. He's too lax. He doesn't like America. So it's like it was just because of the color of his skin. The man's highly intelligent. Then all of a sudden he wasn't American. So they were looking at his birth certificate. It's like all this stuff.
Even his wife, when she did the whole like nutrition program, people are like, "You're telling my kids what to eat." It's like, no, you're giving people informed information to keep your kid alive. Maybe I don't know, an extra year or two, but they wanted to find like when she wore short sleeve shirts, they were making comments about that. It's like
What's
they were
going too
trying
much
to find,
skin.
yeah, they were nitpicking for stuff that nobody cares about. If you tell me to give my kid an apple, I'm not gonna be mad at you because if my kid's eating a candy bar, it's like that's common sense.
Man, two highly intelligent people. They spoke eloquent, but they were looking for anything just because of their skin color. This wasn't American enough, or like you just said, you're telling us to make our kids eat healthy. So, and there's a couple of schools that actually they cut certain parts of federal funding so they can just keep the snack machines in there, saying you're not going to tell me what I can and can't have in my building. So guess what? I'm gonna have snacks, but I'm not getting funding because of what you said. So why go through all that? So to a certain degree, I wish that wasn't, well, not to a big degree. I wish that wasn't what's happening, but it's happening. And just kind of going a little bit back a little bit, saying, you know what, we're black owned. Even if we got into the room to discuss business, they're going to see we're black. So us saying it or not saying it, or they might even do the research before they even want to have a meeting with us. So if us saying it or not saying it, at the end of the day, to me, it's kind of just irrelevant either way, because either you want to do business and you're looking for a quality product, or you don't want to do business because of the color of my skin.
Right. And like I said, business should be just business. Like who cares what you look like? If you can get the job
Correct.
done, if it's gonna make money and it's gonna benefit both sides, why not do business? But it is sad to say in certain situations. And I mentioned this book yesterday. Is one of the books I read a couple months ago. It was called Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun by Reginald Lewis. And at the time, I think it was back in the early 80s or early 90s, he was on one of the largest black-owned business owners. He ended up purchasing a business, Beatrice Enterprise, for like $1 billion, $2 billion. But he went tried to buy 2 businesses prior to that, a pattern company, and it was another business he tried to purchase as well. And the first one just fell through. Second one, almost at the deadline, he had everything getting ready to sign those papers, and then right at the end, the guy who's getting ready to sell the business pulled out of it, saying something about he tried to cut him a side deal on the side, and that was never the case. What it was he didn't feel comfortable having a black man in charge, and Reginald Lewis, he knew all of this, but he never used it as an excuse. So when the time came around for the third deal to finally go through, he worked hours. It was crazy. Just seeing how his mind worked as an entrepreneur was amazing. And he was a lawyer as well. But the third deal came around, he didn't let them know he was black. He was playing it like he was a middleman, and he had other people, going in, and he's like he representing other people. But then when it was finally time to, sign the papers and everything, that's when he finally stepped in and let them know who he was. And then by that time it was too late. The deal was done. But it's sad to see that that's the case in certain situations where you're proud of who you are, but at the same time, it can kind of hinder you as well.
Yeah, that's correct.
We're gonna get ready. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, and it's sad we have to do that. There was a study a few years back. A lawyer used black sounding names and white sounding names, and she sent her resume out to several businesses, and the black sounding names got I think less than 20% return back, and she sent 2 resumes to the exact same people, and the white sounding names got the responses back, but it was still the same person. and
crazy.
she was black. So she said she was Latasha Jenkins, and she still had all the same education credentials. They overlooked it, but she said Lisa Smith. They called her in for an interview.
My coworker, before I ask you guys the other question to get ready to wrap it up, I know you got to go. My coworker, we talked about race quite often, and I remember he was telling me when he was young, he had a friend that went up to some company down in Florida, and he said, "Hey, are you guys hiring?" And the guy that answered the door, he was just one of the employees, so he went to the back. Well, he went to the back and asked the owner of the company. He said, "Hey, he's got this kid who's looking for a job," and then the owner said, "Is he black?" And the guy told him no. He said, "Yeah, okay, bring him on in." So that lets you know right there that plays a part, unfortunately. But before we get ready to wrap it up, like I said, I know you guys got to go. Like in the process, like can you talk a little bit about the process of getting your business off the ground? Like how was it in those early days getting it started?
Just a lot of research and just trying to find a niche where we could stand out in that niche and grow, making sure that we had the trademarks, because a lot of people, from what I'm seeing, what my brother saw, people had good ideas, but they weren't trademarking those ideas. So
Mm-hmm.
just doing the research on trademarks, making sure that the LLC is legit, making sure we have a foundation before we kind of get out there and launch. So that's what we spent most on the early part, is just doing research, research, research. Yeah, you're gonna have a headache. It's inherent in making sure that you're doing it the right way, making sure price points are where people can afford it, and there's still a profit margin, still being able to help the community. Now, some people, of course, no matter how much research you do, you also have to make room for a contend with people that are just going to hate on whatever it is that you do. So making sure that you're ready for that too. A lot of people don't talk about that part, where when you're starting a business, you're only looking at the upside. You also have to plan for the downside and have a contingency. So I would tell people that too. Like if you're going to start a business, research, 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 and research some more, and plan for the people that are going to be negative, because that is going to happen. And sometimes that can deter people. They're like, "Oh, I didn't expect it." Just pretend like it's going to happen automatically. I'm not saying be worst case scenario focused, but plan for that too while you're doing your research. That if I say that this is the best battery on the planet, I have to assume there's going to be somebody that's going to say, "Nope, you're lying. Prove it." So you have contingencies in place when you're planning or prepping your business.
We had some entrepreneurs on great brothers. We've interviewed them several times. They're down in Atlanta. We partnered with them and helped sell some of their laundry detergent. It's called True Laundry Detergent, and it's three black owned gentlemen. Great guys, man. Great brothers. One of them served. Mr. Ali served in the military, and I remember he fought in the Vietnam War. And I remember when we talked to him, we had for our people, like what kind of products should we invest in, or what kind of businesses should we start? And he gave us great advice. He said, try to start a business in something that you know that your community needs every day or use quite often. And like I said, with laundry detergent, that was something, you have to wash your clothes. So why not invest in something that you know that your people need? And was that kind of like the mindset of you guys when you started the business, something that, people use pretty much on a daily basis, buying batteries, that kind of like the reason behind it?
Absolutely. We were thinking, I mean, I call it like you want an evergreen product, something that's never going to go, it's not trending, it's always going to be needed. And of course, we're in a space, like we said, we're the only black owned battery brand on Amazon. And we're in a space where it's not oversaturated. So it's not like a lot of us doing it. So when you're looking at a business, you want something that everybody needs, and it's not oversaturated. Like, I mean, we give the example about the candles and food seasoning. It's oversaturated. I could get online right now and find 10 black owned candle businesses, no problem. No, it's easy. So if you're the pioneer in a certain area, you get to kind of set the trajectory and you get to kind of keep it going a certain way. Of course, we anticipate down the road, of course, somebody else is going to do it too. It's just the nature of the beast. But of course, being the first to do it in certain spaces, we're proud of that, and we're gonna just keep it growing that way. So find something that's not oversaturated, something that you're going to do research in, and just don't be afraid to want more. Is my opinion. Don't be afraid to want more, and don't be afraid to put the work in because you're gonna have to. Some people are like, well, I can't do that, or that's too hard. No such thing. If you can read and write and your brain works, keep it moving and do it.
And if you can give another job 40 plus hours a week and do it for them, why do you think you can't do it for yourself?
Exactly.
And
That right there is a beautiful statement you just made, because you're breaking your back and doing what's required for that whatever job you have for that realm of that job. How come you can't apply that to your own self and do that, invest in yourself and do that same back-breaking type work and make it to culminate to something that you want to do?
Absolutely. It's all about the mindset, and you don't tell yourself you can't do it, because if you're already saying that you can't do it, it's already over with then.
Exactly.
Is it do you guys have any plan? I know you have it. It's available on Amazon. Do you have any plans of getting in any retail stores, or what's the plan, going forward?
We do have a plan to do brick and mortar because we want to get in there. We don't want to just have ourselves stifled to just have like one avenue of going. We want to, since we're already in the Amazon market and we want to get it online, we also want to do brick and mortar. We also want to do some partnerships with some groups to get our product out there, get our name out there. It's just about our hustle and our time frame to get it ramped up and going and doing that. So it's just takes some time and getting our name out there, because it won't happen overnight. But we're looking forward to the growth. We're looking forward to the partnerships we're creating and doing that, and just getting that name and getting ourselves out there like that.
Absolutely. Have you guys done any pop-up shops or anything, or like is it strictly word of mouth and posting online, promoting the batteries in it?
Been in talks with one guy that's wanting to do a pop-up shop. So I've been talking to him. We do have a brand ambassador out of Jermaine Franklin. He's a boxer, so he's just now starting. We sent him some merch so he can wear it when he goes to his fights, and just try to get the word out that way. But yeah, that we're looking into doing the pop-up shops too, just kind of to get our presence out there. We're in talks, as my brother said, with one young lady out of Milwaukee that has an all-black store that wants to put products in her store. So we're negotiating that as well.
It was another company. Now that you said that, and I'm glad you made that mention at the black-owned store in Milwaukee. Not sure if you guys ever heard of it. It's a website called WeBuyBlack.com.
Oh yeah. We heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's another outlet that I Mr. Ali in the gym and from True Laundry Detergent. They
yeah, I like to say I saw them on there.
Yeah, they man, those are some great guys. You love for you brothers to meet them, man. But yeah, that was another outlet, and I remember Killer Mike was doing that. He had a show on Netflix one time. I think it was called Trigger Warning, and on that very first episode, he was only for that first 24 hours or so, he was only buying everything that was black owned. So food, clothes, anything like that. He even made it to a point where he went to a strip club, and if the dancer wasn't black, he said, "I'm sorry, I can't even give you any money." But he was just so to the point, hell bent on black owned whatever anything. So, but that's another guy. Man, I would love to sit with him as well, because he's he's all about supporting our people. We got a couple more questions before we get ready to wrap it up. I know you got to go. What advice would you have for anyone that want to start a business that may not be batteries, may not be their own podcast, anything, but if they just want to start their own business, what advice would you guys give them?
I'll start off. Do your research. Don't say you want to start I don't know, like let's say don't say you want to open up a car lot to sell cars. Do your research. Like, look at the market value for cars. Look at what it takes to in that market in your region, what cars selling. Now, I just want to just start something just to make money. If it's, and you have to be passionate about it. Do your research and be very passionate about what you're starting. Because if you're not, it's going to get conveyed a different way. It's not going to look as if you're really passionate and really straightforward about it. It looks like you just want to make a buck, and that turns some people off. So if you're not passionate about what you're doing, if you're not researching what you're doing, because you just never know what questions are going to come up in that field or that realm that you're in. Because I might have a question about, okay, like what do I need, summer tires or winter tires for this particular car? You're like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, why am I coming to you? Like you can't tell me anything about the car that you're supposed to know based on you being in this field, as you say visually. So be research, just be fully driven in what you're doing in that current content, and just put your all into it.
I would say personally, you need to stay hungry, focus on customer service, and don't be afraid to want more. Don't put yourself in a box. Don't be afraid to want more. Like, keep going. And once you get where you want to get to, keep going. Like, don't overextend yourself, but keep going.
And don't be afraid of failure. Like when you're starting out, anything you're doing, it's not going to go 100% the way you want to. There's going to be hiccups. You start off slow with sales because people are going to get to know your name and your brand. So don't give up because you might have made that first month $100. Like, oh, this ain't working out. You got to keep at it. It's going to take some time. So it's not going to happen overnight.
Absolutely. My final two questions, and we'll wrap it up. I want you brothers to give each other your flowers right now. So this question right here is for each of you. Marcus, what is a strength that you have for your brother Markee that makes your business successful, and vice versa? Markee, what's the strength of your brother that helps
For my brother, it's his he has a real deep research etiquette. If he's going to give you some information, he's already researched it. So you're not gonna out research him in whatever area he's in. So like if he's talking about it, just best believe he already knows about it. So if you try to come with something else, he already knows what you're saying, and he already has he's already 2 steps ahead of you in that field.
Mm-hmm.
Say for my brother, I give him 2 points. He's really good at technology. Like sometimes when he's talking to me about technology, he'll say, "Put the cord here, this is that." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." I don't know. It's foreign language to me, so he's really good at that, and he's really good when it comes to like finances, where you're not going to beat Marcus in terms of understanding retirement, understanding where the money needs to go, price points. If I'm selling something for X amount, what's going to be the profit margin? How much we can use in terms of the community, giving back to the community. He's actually broken that down to a science. So I'll give him his props on that. Technology and the financial part, which is what we needed in our business, because a lot of people are trying to do everything and they can't. And most people fail. Like, I'm going to sell it for $10.99. Well, how much does it cost for you to make it? How much does it cost for you to ship it? My brother's got all that stuff laid out to the point where it's like, it gave me a headache to see how he was doing it.
Absolutely. My last and final question. This is a question that I love to ask everybody, even when I'm on the road traveling, sitting with entrepreneurs all over the country. My last and final question I love to ask everybody is, what does self-investment mean to you?
What it means to me, self-investment, it means just taking the time to just do your due diligence in your craft. So if you're wanting to get into something, again, just like I said, you're doing the research, you're putting in the time. You're going to put some long hours in. It's not going to be like a 30-minute thing that you're going to do. It might be that day. If you're holding down a regular job and you're trying to get to this next level of being an entrepreneur or a self-made business person, you're going to put in like 12, 14-hour days. That's minimum. Just being physically able, having that fortitude to do that, and just having that drive. So if you want what you want and you're very enthusiastic, you're very driven, you have that hustle mentality, you have to keep that going. Like, you're gonna have some naysayers and some people that are negative. You're just gonna have to just take that as feedback, incorporate that into what you're doing, and utilize whether it's good or bad feedback, utilize all that so you can be the best you possible.
For me, self-investment just pretty much, it means freedom. It means truly having confidence in yourself to know that when you bet on something, we're betting on so much stuff in the world. Why not bet on yourself? There's nothing to me. There's nothing more confidence affirming than betting on yourself. There's nothing more freeing because when you bet on yourself and you win, you're truly free. You can't blame anybody else. Nobody can say anything about what you're doing. You are your true boss. You're free. You're free and you're truly confident. So I say that's what self-investment means to me. That's a like a free confidence, and you're just free and to do whatever you want to do.
Absolutely, perfect way to end it. Marcus, thank you guys so much for your time. Like I said, I really hate we couldn't have this conversation in person, but I'm glad I got to connect with you, brother. Definitely look forward to connecting.
And we appreciate you.
I never been to Dallas before. My sister, she's actually getting ready to head out there for her job soon. But I've never been out. I've only been to well, I landed in Austin, Texas one time before, and I went to been to Houston before. But I never been to Dallas, Texas. But people tell me it's a beautiful city. It's a great place to come visit.
Yeah,
But
man. Like, hopefully we'll do a couple more of these. You should come out.
oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Most definitely,
Yeah.
I'll definitely make that a plan. Most definitely. Before we get out of here, can you guys tell everybody how we can support your business?
Yeah, let my brother do that. He's good at that.
Like right now, we are trying to raise capital, which we're carrying as debt if anybody wants to invest. And we're trying to raise 120,000 so that we can blow it out the park. And we're doing that at Seed at the Table. And when you go to Seed at the Table, it's a Black-owned crowdfunding website. And so far, we've raised 20,000 out of the 120,000 that we're looking to raise. And people can invest in that. And we're gonna give 10% profit revenue sharing for 5 years, just as a way to say thank you for investing in what we're trying to do. But you can also find our products VoltCell on Amazon. Right now, we got the AA, the CR2032s on there for sale right now, and they're both in stock.
Yeah, we're expanding our inventory. And it's Seed at the Table, SEED
Yeah,
at the table. Yeah.
Absolutely. Make sure anybody watching this, please make sure you go out support these brothers. I'm definitely gonna make sure I get some as well. Like I said, it's so important for us in our community to support our own. Don't look at it as if somebody's getting ahead of you. No matter what, it's already enough against us. Please go out, support each other, and help us get to where we want to go. So hopefully everybody enjoyed this episode of the Cross the Line Podcast. Marcus and Markee, thank you, brothers, again. Look forward to connecting with you again very soon.
thank you, brother Carlos.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you a lot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So hopefully everybody enjoyed this episode of the Cross the Line Podcast. Till next time, keep chasing your dreams. Thank you for listening.